Do you have a class? They have a class here this afternoon at Shul?
Class this afternoon?
Yeah, Shul?
No.
No, suspender was moved again. What's going? No?
Chaim, can you tell us the scenario for tomorrow?
Yeah, we are now live on YouTube. Which scenario?
What time? What
Tomorrow
is
night, 8:45.
Eicha?
8:45 is Ma'ariv and Eicha. Is Stella coming?
No.
Okay. 8:45.
8:45 is Marv, and then Eicha.
Ma'ariv and then Eicha.
And what about Thursday?
Thursday morning, 9 a.m. And we'll finish about 11:15. And then Thursday night, Mincha, 7:15. Okay. And I think we figured out we have room for everyone. Okay, everybody.
So you'll pick me up tomorrow about 8:40 or so,
What?
Rudy?
Chaim?
You'll
Oh.
pick me up 8:40 tomorrow? You?
I should pick up Chaim?
No, me.
You're picking up Chaim?
Ay, ay, ay.
I think that means yes.
Why does Chaim
Welcome.
have to be picked up?
Welcome to Garden of the Spirit, a class studying apples from the orchard for the second time. This class meets in Long Meadow, Massachusetts, and is held in memory of Malka Ruth Bas Moshe, Margaret Vogel of blessed memory. Apples from the Orchard contains selections of teachings of Kabbalah from the Arizal, Arias Luria, based on the weekly Torah portions, superbly translated and explained by Moshe Wisniewski, and includes some adult topics, mature audiences. Okay. So we are in Noach, and we're the souls of the people from the generation of the flood. Rudy, I hope that's not Flashik behind you.
It is. It is. That's why I told you. I shouldn't have that on there now.
That was from Lerman Schnitzel party that we weren't invited to.
It's pre-9 days, pre-9
Exactly,
days.
yeah.
We went through this last night.
Yeah. But
Pre-9 days.
the photo leaked. I got it. So
Okay. So we are going to start today from the top of 34. And thank you, Alan, for helping me find that.
What one thing?
Hmm?
Size.
Okay. So if I go bigger than this, it's covered by the...
That's okay. That's a little bit more. That was good.
Okay.
That's
So we're talking about what we call in our class the interceptions. Makes things a lot easier. Interception meaning in the express the words terms of Kabbalah, it's called Yenikas Hachitzonim, which literally means nourishment or sucking of the outside forces. Outside forces refers to klipa. Incidentally, I don't like using the word evil because in Hebrew they keep calling it klipa. That is the term. Klipa just means the shell. So could be evil, not necessarily. So I prefer just to use klipa until I find a better translation. So it's called Yenikas Hachitzonim, sucking of by the outside forces, which means we're klipa, where the divine energy is diverted to klipa. And obviously that gives power and it gives force to klipa. Then that's something that we don't want. That's not good. So it's very easy to call it an interception. Last week we learned towards the end do not reveal a secret to another, which is a fancy way of saying don't let the divine energy be intercepted by klipa. Do not do something that will allow the klipa to intercept the divine energy. The divine energy being the secret that needs to stay within the group. So talking about this diversion or interception, I'm going to begin at 36. Another way to say this is that someone shares a secret with a sinner. Holiness, and by holiness, I mean divine energy. I'm going to use them interchangeably. Holiness is shared with klipa that's not worthy of it. Or, in another way to say it, instead of yesod, coupling with nukva to make the divine energy flow, the divine energy is intercepted by klipa and produces baby klipa. It produces offspring, and that is not good. Now, so we're going to be also looking at a few metaphors. One metaphor we have here is about sharing a secret with a sinner. In Hebrew, the word for arousal, as in we just said, klipa is aroused. We're going to say klipa is aroused by yesod, is cham, warmth. The same way that we say an animal is in heat, it refers to it's warm. It implies both warmth and arousal, being aroused. When Yaakov had the sheep and he was getting paid in sheep with patches and spots and dots and ankle rings, and he was and many of the sheep were being born that way. He was peeling the sticks. So the Torah used the word vayechemu hatson el hamaklos, that the sheep were warmed by the sticks, or they were aroused. Imagine, like, that psychedelic ring, right? And sometimes in the cartoons they show it in the guy's eyes, and their eyes are like going around and around with that circle, that spiral, with the expanding spiral. So it says that the sheep were warmed or aroused by the sticks. So there we have the same word. Hashem created two great sea creatures called leviathans, a male and a female. If they would produce offspring, they would destroy the world. Hashem castrated the male and killed the female and preserved its flesh to be served to tzaddikim when Mashiach comes, according to the Medrash. So now when it says...
So if he killed off the female, what did he castrate the male for?
Don't know, but I think we'll see here. Practically speaking, I was wondering that. Good question. But it's going to say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh bidvaro.
Amen.
It probably prevents the male from finding another creature.
Another Leviathan when only two were created?
Maybe it would try. No,
I don't think
Practically, I don't know why. But we're going to look at it from a Kabbalah point of view. When it says Hashem castrated the male, the Arizal understands it to mean that Hashem prevents the klipa from coupling with Yesod. Okay, we compare that. I don't remember where we say it. The Malchus engages in gamegenesis with Ze'er Anpin. Okay, but and there's warmth involved. But if the male is castrated, then it can't engage. I'm sorry. If in the diversion of the divine energy, in the interception, then there is, I guess, klipa gets involved in the coupling. So by castrating the male Leviathan, the idea means that Hashem is preventing the klipa from getting involved in the coupling.
So why didn't he just create it without the male organ?
Well, he created it. I don't know.
an afterthought. Who knows?
But why did he make it? Because he created it. Created like he created everything else.
I'm sure there's a different meaning involved.
Could be beyond my mind. Okay, so this is what we're going to be looking at here, and we're going to start. Alan, Are you ready to begin?
Sure.
Okay, page 34 at the top.
When a person reveals the secret to someone who is unworthy, he causes the forces of evil to receive from Yesod, and they are warmed by it and produce offspring. Warmed here means aroused. This usage is common in the rabbinic idiom. The choice of it here will be clear now, as it is contrasted to the inherent coldness of evil. This is the dynamic of coldness, as we will now explain. The sages stated that Hashem castrated the male Leviathan, and Hashem created the great serpents in the water. According to the sages, this refers to the Leviathan and its mate. But Hashem saw that if they were to procreate, they would destroy the world. So he castrated the male and killed the female Leviathan and salted it. It will be served to the righteous in the meal, celebrating the advent of the Messianic era. Thus, the Leviathan represents a power that, if allowed to propagate, would overcome the world, that is evil. Hashem therefore castrated evil, as will now be explained.
Okay, thank you. And we're not going to go further into Leviathan. That's all
Right.
that's all that he says about it. Okay. So we've referred to arousal for the sake of gamogenesis as warmth. The opposite of warmth is cold. In holiness, and we know that Ze'er Anpin couples with Malchus, and which part of Ze'er Anpin is the Yesod, is that actually gets involved in the thick of things. In holiness, the 7th, 8th, and 9th spheros, called Netzach Hod Yesod, function as a unit in holiness. They're represented by the letter Shin, which has 3 branches that are attached at the bottom. And so 3 branches, Netzach Hod and Yesod. In Klippa, they function discretely. The single unit, Shin, becomes separated. Did I use discretely correctly? Good. Shin is 300. And if it's separate, then, it's broken down to Kar, Kuf, Reish, 100 plus 200. Kar means cold, the opposite of Cham, warm. In our case, referring to the lack of warmth and arousal because Hashem castrated the male. To repeat, when it says Hashem castrated the male Leviathan, it means he prevented Klippa from intercepting divine energy. But again, so we have the Shin is 300, and that's in holiness. It functions as a Shin. In Klippa, the Shin gets broken up, separated, and since Shin is 300, it gets broken up. Now it's Kar, Kuf 100, Reish 200. I assume that the Yesod is by itself, and the Netzach and Hod are together as the 200. And so Kar is cold. Cold means there's no Cham, there's no warmth, no arousal. The what's it called? The Klippa cannot get nourishment, cannot intercept any divine energy. Okay, Alan, continue. Mystically,
this means that the Yesod of the forces of evil does not connect with their Netzach and Hod, as in the case in the realm of holiness. For the Netzach, Hod, Yesod of holiness function as a unit and are therefore alluded to by the single letter Shin. The letter Shin is formed of 3 vertical lines that join at the bottom. It thus alludes to Netzach, Hod, Yesod functioning as a unit. The connection of Netzach and Hod to Yesod, providing it with content, is what makes it potent, able to be warmed up.
Okay, one moment. So now there's a and when you have these three letters, the kar, kufresh, kar, that means cold, and a shin, which we said is a holy letter. Then you have the word sheker. Sheker means falsehood. Okay, and obviously falsehood and sheker are klipa. Go ahead, Ellen.
But the Yesod of the forces of evil, being separate from the Netzach and Hod, are alluded to by the letters Kuf Resh. Thus, the word for lie, sheker, is formed. The letters Kuf Resh spell kar, cold. All the letters of the Hebrew alphabet, except for these two, Kuf and Resh, are stable. They either have solid bases or are balanced. They either consist of a single vertical line, for example, the Vav, or have mass on either side of the single line they stand on. That is, for example, the Daled or Zion. These two, however, are lopsided. They appear as if ready to fall over at any minute. Thus, although by itself Shin is a holy letter and is balanced when joined together with the Kuf and the Resh, its potential lopsidedness, the three lines that it comprises do not join directly below its center of gravity, is added to theirs, and the word for lie is formed.
Okay, so yeah, actually, I should have done 39 first. The Gemara states, is a famous Gemara, sheker, falsehood, has no legs. By the shape of the letters, these letters have no base. Thus, the shape of the letters alone shows that they're off balance. The shin can go both ways, by the way. It can be drawn with a flat base, which would make it stable, or drawn coming to a point, which would kind of be off balance. The letter shin is what we're going to say is, when they say that the Gemara says that falsehood has no legs, one hint that we see this is in the letters, the shapes of the letters themselves, that the letters are not well balanced. And that's true for falsehood as well. The letter shin, though, when you take, we said before that kuf and resh are letters connected with klipa. So the shin, it's part of sheker, it's part of falsehood, but it's also by itself is okay. So just like when you tell a lie, if the lie is a 100% fabrication, people tend not to believe. But if it has an element of truth, then it makes the lie believable. So the letter shin is the truth that gives the letters of deceit, kuf and resh, credibility. Similarly, lies must have an element of truth to be believable. Okay, so Alan, go ahead, top of 35.
This is the inner meaning of the sage's statement that a lie has no feet or permanence unless it is joined together with some words of truth. A good lie always begins with a true statement, which gives it reliability. To explain, when the forces of evil receive from that vav inside the hay of Malchus, the vav inside this hay extends downward, forming the letter kuf, which was formerly a hay. The daled was a hay from the hay that extends into bria when the forces of evil receive. And from that vav that was inside the hay is formed the kuf. Bria is the first word where self-awareness exists, and therefore where evil can assume an independent existence. The extension of the hay becomes kuf into Berea. The extension of the hay of the Hay become Kuf in Bria is thus envisioned as a breach of the borders of holiness.
Okay, hold on. All right, up to 40. So the last letter of Hashem's name, Hey, provides sustenance to Bria. The letter Hey has two parts. It's made up of a Dalid on the top and right, and a Vav, a small Vav on the bottom left. If the small Vav at the bottom left of the Hey extends downwards, the Hey changes to Kuf. As we said, Kuf is a letter of Klipa. So if the Vav gets elongated and reaches downward, Klipa is able to intercept or suction off the divine energy. That's what we just said. That's what Alan just read there. So Hey good, Kuf bad. The name of the letter, so now we're talking about this Hey, and the Hey has two parts, a Dalid and a Vav on the bottom left. The Dalid part of it is a Dalid. The name of the letter Dalid means door. The piece at the top right of Dalid, we call it a Yud, sticking out on the right side. It gives it balance, and it's why it's a letter that has balance and is stable. This Yud at the top right of the Dalid is, or the little thing sticking out, is referred to as the hinge of the door, of the delet. Yud is a holy letter. It's the first letter of Hashem's name, and it refers to Chachma, as we learned. It's a point that it's a point that unifies Ze'er Anpin and Nukva. Let's remember that the closest thing between the closest thing that we're aware of in our world that would describe the merging or blending of Ze'er Anpin and Nukva is coupling or gamogenesis. So that's why we use this as a metaphor, and the things that we understand is what is similar to what takes place between Ze'er Anpin and Nukva. The Yud is a holy letter, and we said it represents Chachma, right? The four letters of Hashem's name, the first one, Yud, corresponds to Chachma. Chachma means using your mind. And when people engage in relationship, in intimacy, so the fact that the people are not only relying just on their emotions, but also on their mind, on their power of reason, people are on the same page, they're in agreement on an intellectual plane. This is a mature coupling, a mature act of gamogenesis, where people are on the same page in many ways. And so too, and that's what happens when there's a proper, appropriate, or healthy coupling between Ze'er Anpin and Nukva. It's the same idea. And so this is what causes this. This is the function of the little extension on the top right of the Dalid that we refer to as the Yud. Okay, continue, Alan. I'm sorry, Dallin, where do you read?
The Dalit.
Okay, continue.
Chaim, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Maybe.
So there's a lot of discussion about the various letters of the Hebrew alphabet throughout the Sefer. And as we know, creation was caused through the speaking of these letters, right? The Hebrew letters. That's how creation occurred. So those letters that create the life force of creation itself where are those letters contained? Do we believe that those letters are contained within the Torah, or are they in a plane that we just can't
I think that's
see?
a good question. I think that the letters are names, terms, titles, descriptions of the channels, how Hashem creates the world. We see them as letters, but for Hashem creating the world, they're channels for the flow of divine energy. Does it answer your question?
And these channels have remained throughout, but are they captured? Is the root of the letters, is it the Torah? You know, the actual Torah itself?
Don't know. But one way that I explain it, that I've explained before, is in the olden days, before football became political, and we just enjoyed watching it for entertainment, you have the film crew. I mean, there's action taking place on the field. You have a film crew, cameras all over, and they're picking up the visuals, what's seen by the lens, and then it's sent. I guess in the old days it would be sent through digital, through electronic impulses, through waves, through cable, however it's done. And I guess we've changed when we went digital. I'm guessing that is the process has changed. And then at the end, it shows up on your screen, and your HDTV screen, where you can watch the game in living color. Okay, if you think there are three distinct stages here. You have the actual action that's going on in 3 dimensions. Then you have the camera that's transmitting, or that converts it to electronic signals and sends it electronically, or perhaps by what is it, radio waves in the olden days. And then finally, you have the way that it's shown on your TV screen, which is just a display of colored dots, colored pixels. And each one is very different. On the one hand, it's very different. You can't, obviously, if you open the TV screen, you're not going to see any paint over there. You're not going to see people there. If you open the, little men inside quickly painting the scene. If you cut open the cable, they used to joke about that. If you cut open the cable somewhere midway, assuming that it's coming by cable, right? You're just going to see wires. There's actually nothing that you can see or that looks anything like the what's happening on the field or what's being shown on the screen. If anything, you'll just see, not see, but you can, let's say, use possibly use some kind of meter that maybe that can see that there are electric signals that are running through the line. But there's nothing you can look, and there's nothing you can look. You need what do you call it? A decoder. I don't know what they call it. You need something.
Converter.
A converter. Thank you. There's some sort of converter that converts the signals into what you see on your screen. So each one is it all, but on the other hand, they all carry the same message. All 3 of them have exactly what's going on the field. Exactly what's going on in the field. But they're in totally different forms that are no way like the other 2. So you ask me what the letters are like. In my mind, that's how I picture it. We see letters, we see shapes, we know that they have sounds. We know we combine them, and they carry meaning to us, and we're able to use them in that way. For Hashem, there's not, the Martians don't have these little letters floating around because they're in heaven, or Hashem uses them. Exactly what sounds does it make? Was there when Hashem spoke, Bereshis bara yehi or? Is there actually a sound? No, probably not. But it means that what we see as letters, as or, aleph, vav, resh, up there, that idea of the aleph and the vav and the resh, which the idea would include the shape and include that the sound of whatever letter it is, the sound that it makes, it channels a special and other things of the letters. As you know, it carries the value of the letter. It may also have in it the source of the mouth from where the letter is produced, from the teeth, from the throat, from the tongue, lips, and so on. So however, whatever it means, up there, the letters are the channels for the divine light to come into the world in the right combinations, and whatever it is formed. I hope that's helpful.
That was very nice. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Hold on. Give me a minute. Okay, now, so we see this in that the idea is that the two opposites, the two entities that are engaged in gamogenesis should be like one. Jim mentioned the last few weeks that a man leaves his father and mother, and he clings to his wife, and they become one flesh. So the idea is that the husband and wife become like one. This, so in the word one, echad, we can see this idea in echad. Echad has three letters. The first two, ach. Ach means brother. That's the male side, referring to Zeir Anpin. Then you have dalid, referring to malchus. I'm not sure if it says why, but it would seem to me that dalid delet is a door, and a door allows entry to a room. And just much as nukva is the entryway for Zeir Anpin, or for the divine flow to continue on to the next stage of creation, it has to go through nukva. So a door allows entry to a room, much as nukva allows entry to Zeir Anpin. So dalid refers to malchus. In the most healthy relationships, male and female are ach, brother, and dalid, and dalid, the door, become echad, become one entity. This is the idea. I think if you remember, maybe 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, I think we had that chachma and bina are constantly
together.
in a state of union.
Yeah.
They're constantly together. They're never separated. The Zeir Anpin and Malchus sometimes are together, sometimes are separated. I'm guessing that this is the idea, which you're probably familiar with, that in the Mishkan and Beis Hamikdash, the Holy of Holies was the Aron. On top of the Aron were the Kruvim, the angelic gold figures. And at the time that the Jewish people were worthy, one figure was male, one was female. They were engaged in embrace. They embraced, and when the Jewish people did not deserve, then they were somehow separate from each other, or separated from each other. Perhaps their faces turned away from each other. So this could be the same idea, is that the Kruvim, the same way that Ze'er Anpin and Malchus can be engaged in a close relationship, or they can be apart. I think we said that, and the idea is not that just, we did talk about there could be a time that they're back to back. The idea is not that only they should be together, but that it should be face to face, but also not just an emotional relationship. It should also have the intellect involved. If I'm not mistaken, the intellect, Chachma and Bina, which also join, but sometimes it's a mature relationship and sometimes an immature relationship. Sometimes it's developed, sometimes it's not developed. And if the intellect is working properly, then it's developed, a mature relationship, and it also causes that the joining, a coupling of Ze'er Anpin and Malchus is driven not only by emotions, but the intellectual component complements the relationship. Okay, Jim, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
To explain, Yud signifies Chachma, which is manifest throughout Ze'er Anpin and Malchus, that is Nukva, and it is what joins them together. Chachma is experienced through selflessness, as we have seen previously. Selflessness is what allows two opposites, such as male and female principles, to unite. Ze'er Anpin and Nukva are then called one, Echad, the brother of the Dalet. Ze'er Anpin being the brother, the Dalet being Malchus. The word for one, Echad, is spelled Aleph Chet Dalet. The first two letters of these three form the word for brother, Ach, Aleph Chet. Thus, the word for one can be seen as a compound of the words brother of the Dalet. Ze'er Anpin and Nukva unite so closely, they feel like brother and sister, which in fact they are, since they are both offspring of Abba and Ima. Even though Ze'er Anpin and Malchut are separate parts of Fim, they become one because the Yud, and that's back to Chachma, joins them. When the Yud is removed from Dalet, it turns into Resh.
Oh, hold on. Tio. I'm sorry. Meant to stop at 36. I'm zoning out. Okay, very good. So now, the little Yud or hinge at the back of the Dalet makes all the difference.
Yep.
If the Yud is removed, we are left with Resh. The Dalet becomes a Resh. The word Echad will now read Acher, or other. It says that. In the Torah, it says Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. And in the Torah, actually, the Dalet is large. In fact, as the ayin is also large. That's not important for our discussion here. The ayin of Shema is large. The Dalet of Echad is large. Elsewhere, the Torah says, Lo tishtachaveh lekel acher. Do not bow to another God. And the Reish of acher is also large. The Torah, the Dalet, and Reish are written large to emphasize the similarity between the two and to warn against changing one for the other. Warning us, make sure here you write Echad, and you're not reading that God is another. Over there, make sure it says do not bow to another God. You don't change it to do not bow to one God. That we should not mistake one for the other. In fact, Reb Meir was a sofer. He even talks about being worried. I think his teacher told him to be very careful that the back of the Dalit of Echad shouldn't be rubbed off by accident or even from a fly landing on it and lifting off a speck of the ink when it's still wet and changing the Dalit to a Resh. So so this is it's a little thing. And so what makes the difference? The difference is that little yud at the back of the Dalit, at the top right of the Dalit. That shows you the importance of that and how vital that little yud is. Okay.
There's a selflessness. It's selflessness. It's in Chachma. It comes from selflessness. It's where Bina creates the self-consciousness. This is pre-Bina and is connected to a higher place. And when we lose that, we lose our whole bearings, and that's
Now,
the biggest problem there is.
like now.
Like now,
We've mentioned this before a few months ago, and we talked about it. We talked about then it's the compass. We didn't use that word, but we talked about as turning around, looking back to see where you're coming from, to know where you need to go to. That yud, as you're saying, or that idea of selflessness is the compass, Jim, that keeps you directed on the correct path, not getting distracted,
yeah.
sidetracked. Very
Yeah.
good, thanks. Okay, 36.
Okay, so when the yud is removed from the daled, it turns into a resh, and the word for one, echad, becomes the word for the other, acher. This is the other in the verse. Do not reveal a secret to another.
Okay, good, thanks. 44. The last two letters of Hashem's name, Vav and Hey, represent Zeir Anpin and Malchus. We said before, holiness has to be guarded and not shared with Klipa like a secret. Metaphor number one. Metaphor number two. The laws of Sneas teach that gamogenesis must take place privately, in the dark, under covers. Another metaphor for leaking the secret is to engage in gamogenesis in the open. Do not reveal a secret to another could then mean that Hey and Vav should be careful that Klipa does not intercept divine energy, just like gamogenesis is done in private. Okay, go ahead, Jim.
This also causes the Vav to couple with the Hey openly, like revealing a secret to another. Open coupling is a violation of modesty. This characterizes true, holy, marital relations. By coupling in the open, the secret, the reproductive power, both in male and in female, is shared with everyone instead of only with the beloved, and thus some of it spills into the wrong places. So open coupling thus increases the power of evil. You know, it's amazing that it becomes so uncomfortable sometimes when I see in protests the immodesty that takes place and the uncomfortableness which is captured here. There was a woman who was sitting on top of the sculpture outside the Knesset and was had no shirt on. And this was about approximately a week ago. It was just so, it was painful to see this and to see.
What are they protesting there? Black Lives Matter in Israel?
Some crazy.
They're protesting.
It was against Netanyahu. It was against Netanyahu. It was just a horrible, heartbreaking thing to witness. It was just horrible.
I assure you, Rudy, it might not be BLM, but it's being paid for by the same people.
Yeah, it was just
Same groups.
it was heart-wrenching to see that. And there was a protest today in Tel Aviv that was going on where people were like half clothed and they had stuff dripping down from them. And it was also horrible to just witness this. Anyway, I
It's
saw
thumbing,
that.
it's thumbing nose at society, and it's thumbing their nose at convention. It's a slap in the face.
And it's a violation of modesty the way this is that becomes in the form of demonstration that it's exactly represented in this way. That's so sad. I don't know.
It's thumbing their nose. Where did you stop? I wonder if I should read on.
Okay, I just stopped. Open coupling increases the power of evil.
Okay. I don't remember where this is. Let's go here. When the flow of divine energy stays in holiness, Vav and Hey, Ze'er, Ampin, and Malchus couple in a healthy relationship. Malchus responds to or initiates the act. That's called feminine waters. In the words of Kabbalah, we call it Mayin Nukvin, feminine waters, or arousal from below in the physical world. This is like a relationship where both partners are engaged, willing, caring for the other, and in general on the same page.
Mhm.
So this is, and when it happens above Zerampin and Malchus, Malchus reaches out to Zerampin responds. The arousal, the initiation begins from Malchus. And this is a good thing. This is a healthy thing.
Mhm.
This is when everything stays in holiness. Okay, go ahead.
But when this,
yes, but when?
but when the secrets of the Torah are revealed to the righteous, Yesod directs its flux directly to Malchus. These two being righteous, and then the Vav with the Hay ascend into the world of Bria as feminine waters for Malchus and cause it to couple with Zeranpin. This is the rectification of for evil coupling, in which the Vav and the Hay are forced into the lower worlds to copulate there. Feminine waters is Kabbalistic imagery for arousal from below.
Oh, yeah, okay, do another line.
It's really an ascension here, which I think is something we have to really get. It isn't just arousing from below, there's an ascension when this happens. Okay.
Ascension or descension?
Ascension, up, going up.
Going up?
When there is the arousal from below and there's righteousness from Yesod and Malchus together, then the Vav with the Hay ascend into the world of Berea as feminine water. So it isn't just arousing from below, it rises up all the way through to Berea, which is powerful. When the opposite, now because we see the opposite, but the positive is it isn't just arousing, it's ascending. That's all I was saying. When the opposite is the case, it causes coupling below. There's no rectification for this until the root of the problem is rectified. And anyway.
Okay, the last two letters of Hashem's name, Hey and Vav, equal 11. This corresponds to the 11 spices of Ketores offered every day on the inner altar. To repair the damage of these letters, we focus during Shema, we eat for the sake of Hashem, we study Torah and perform mitzvahs. Basically, he breaks down the repair into Rudy, I think you're on Battlestar Galactica there, looks like. So he breaks down the repair into two aspects. Number one, the Vav and the Hey have to be repaired. and that's done this way, as I write in 46. And then the souls have to be repaired as well, and that's separate. So go ahead, Jim.
Okay, there's a difference between rectification for these souls who issued through illicit seminal emission, and that required for the Vav He, which are the 11 spices of the incense. The numerical value of Vav He, 6 plus 5, is 11. There are 11 ingredients used in compounding the incense burned in the temple service. To elevate the sparks of Vav He, we give ourselves over to the unity of God in reciting the Shema. When we eat, we also rectify this. By performing commandments and studying Torah, we elicit divine beneficence from the source of all these above, so that it elevate those below also. This is how we rectify the unholy descent of the Vav He into the realms of evil adjacent to the world of Bria. As for the souls propagated by Adam's unholy seminal emissions.
Okay, go up to 47. So, repairing the souls produced by inadvertent emissions of Adam is different. Noach's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Yafes, were meant to repair them. The people, it doesn't say here, it doesn't address what happened with Ham and how he got involved in this. He was supposed to repair, and obviously he didn't. The people of the tower caused more damage. Let me point out that chronologically, the tower was about 300. The tower was exactly 340. Hold on. The tower was 300, I think, 59 years after the flood, if I'm not mistaken. Around there is 10 years before Noach died. So the people of the tower caused more damage. Their king was King Nimrod. Come, let us build a city refers to Malchus of Klippa. And the tower refers to Yesod of Klippa, or Yesod. What happened? They saw souls from the time of the flood that were without bodies and wanted to provide bodies for the souls. This is all done through Klippa by changing their, had they succeeded, the souls would have been doomed forever. Hashem changed their language and Hashem prevented their plan. It could be, there's some stuff here that seems to be left hanging, and I had to guess at the meaning. It could be that they wanted to provide bodies for those souls by having more offspring and not necessarily in a kosher way, maybe through licentiousness, having more children to provide bodies for these souls. But I'm guessing at that, it does not say it. Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Just the same Erev Rav?
The tower, people of the tower, 10 years before Noach died.
I understand that, but those souls, is that the same as the Erev Rav?
I think he's going to get there.
Okay.
Hold on. I saw it somewhere. It could be I saw it elsewhere.
It's okay. Probably is.
I think I saw it elsewhere.
The same ones over and over again.
I think you're right.
Life doesn't change.
Doesn't change.
It's like the same villain in the cartoon.
Yeah.
The same villain comes up in different.
It is the same villain.
Yeah. The faces and the places change. Everything else.
Yeah, it's the same one.
And
Okay.
who's the first one, guys? The first villain?
The first villain, Snake.
The snake.
Snidely Whiplash.
Snakely Whiplash. The snake.
Snakely Whiplash.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
All right.
All right. Shem, Ham, and Yafeth were the roots of these souls and came to rectify them. But the generation of the dispersion ruined their efforts and said, come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower. In effect, they said that they saw those souls of the generation of the flood that did not ascend, and they did not have a body to ascend with. So they said, okay, let them make bodies from the evil shells. This is alluded to the word by the word come. This will be explained presently. So Nimrod said, let's build ourselves a city, referring to Malchus of the forces of evil, and a tower, referring to Yesod of the forces of evil. City is another appellation for Malchus, which is a sphere of expression, inasmuch as letters are called stones and words houses, and towers a phallic symbol. God, however, foiled their plans so that these souls not be totally ruined and left without rectification forever. By confounding their language or means of expression, their city was thus destroyed.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to find Avram repaired partly through Chesed, Yitzhak repaired more through Gvura, and Yaakov repaired more through Tiferes. Finally, the 12 tribes finished the repairs in Egypt and brought all the sparks with them. Was that Rudy who asked? The Torah says, Ve'erev Rav Allah itam, and the great multitude went up with them from Egypt. So Rav is 202. We see from there 202 sparks came up with them from Egypt that they were able to purify, select and purify. Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Then Abraham came and rectified them through chesed. He revealed divine chesed and thereby blinded the forces of evil, elevated the sparks of holiness. Nevertheless, he did not rectify them that much. So Isaac came and rectified them more than he did using Gevurah. Gevurah, Isaac revealed, struck the forces of evil and thereby elevated those souls from the realm of evil. Then Yaakov came and rectified them even more using Tiferet. And when his sons, the progenitors of the 12 tribes, came and went down to Egypt, these sparks were refined there and all ascended and were totally rectified.
Okay, now the grand finale, 49. Nimrod said, Hava, come let us build a city. I'm sorry, Hava, I don't know if it means come or means give. I have to double check on that. Could be it means both. Come let us build a city. And Paro said, Hava, come let us deal wisely with them. So both Nimrod in building the tower and Paro in devising his plot, his final solution, both use the same term. This shows that Nimrod and Paro were actually the same dude. Paro decreed that the boys be thrown in the Nile River as a way to repair them, throw them into the water that they'll be purified. That wasn't his intention. After they crossed the Red Sea, they came to Marah, where they encountered water that was bitter, and Moshe sweetened it for them. It was there at Marah. Moshe introduced them to the mitzvot, and the repairs were final. And finally, we're going to say that Moshe is an extension of Hevel, and he made the final repair to the hay of Hevel. Okay, go ahead. Jim, take it from here to the end.
Who was Pharaoh? Nimrod. This can be seen from the fact that just like Nimrod said, come, let us build ourselves a city, so did Pharaoh say, come, let us be wise with them. He decreed against the Israelite sons, saying, the newborn boys should be thrown into the river, that is, into the water, so that they could be rectified in the water. Although the earthly Pharaoh's intentions were evil, he was unwittingly rectifying the souls that had become reincarnated in the generation of the Exodus by immersing them in water, which is a metaphor for Torah. but they were not fully rectified until they came to Mara, where they were all fully rectified. At Mara, the Jews received their first commandments, a sort of transitional law between the universal laws of the Noachites and the 613 commandments of the Torah. Moses also rectified the hay of Abel's name, Hevel, and thus then everything was rectified. So when Moses received the full Torah, transmitted it to the Jewish people, all souls that made up Adam's original soul were finally rectified.
Okay. Thank you.
And at Mara, he sweetened the water.
All part of the plan.
All part of the plan.
Yeah, I did see some stuff on that, guys. I was thinking of you. Hold on, please. Relationship between Moshe and Hevel. Okay, Moshe tells in the parsha this week, Hashem got angry at me on your account. Then it says Moshe went up to Hashem. At the first, when on Mount Sinai, he got all 50 gates of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
Then with the golden calf, he lost the 50th. He only had 49 after that. It's known that Moshe was an extension of Hevel. Hevel is Hey Beis Lamed. Lamed Beis is Lev, the heart.
Mm-hmm.
It says, Moshe says that I went up to the heart of the heaven. And so that's Lamed and Beis. Lamed Beis 32 also refers to the 32 pathways of wisdom. The 32 I've seen elsewhere says that it means the 22 letters plus the 10 spheres makes 32. So there are known 32 known pathways of wisdom. That's Lev. Moshe took the Hey for his own name. Hey also represents, like, I guess 5 times 10, the 50 gates of understanding that we spoke about a minute ago. And also the 5 books of Torah makes Hevel, Hey Lamed Beis. So Moshe helped repair any faults in Hevel. In the beginning of the part, in this week's parsha, it says a few words, Ba'al Lucia Hara Lakachas, when I went up the mountain to take, and those initials spell Hevel. Beis, Hey, and Lamed scrambled makes Hevel. Moshe went up to heaven. Moshe went up to the heart of heaven. Lev Hashem, and that's where we got the Hevel, like we said before.
Is this the Shalah you're reading?
Yeah. Yes. It also talks about the Shalheves. Where is it? The Shalheves means flame. And Shalheves has 5 letters. It contains the 3 letters Hevel. And also the first and last letter are Shes, the third son of Adam and Chava. Moshe was a Gilgal, an extension of both Hevel and Shes. He goes on and brings Cain into the mix and explains where he stands. Cain has a long nun, and that also connects, believe it or not, Cain connects with the 50 gates of understanding. Gematria of Cain is 160, and that is the expanded spelling of Ekia. Aleph and Hey and Yud and Hey is, I figured it out. I think it's 161. So we got to use
that must
Kayin.
be the opposite 50 of understanding.
This
right.
I think it's the positive aspect of Kayin. And Hevel is Lev Lamed Beis is 32. Hey times Lamed Beis. 5 times 32 is 160, which is Kayin. And it's talking about that Kayin being that the Gvura, which is Kayin, being sweetened is greater than the Chesed of Hevel. That's what he points out here. When Hashem said, "Where is your brother Hevel?" it means that you are. And he said, "Hashomer Achi, am I my brother's keeper?" So the idea is, yes, he is the keeper, and the nest for Hevel, like Bina, is also called a nest for Chachma. Hashem's asked, "A, where is?" Da, 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 da. And he goes into this, then to some other things. And he connects it with Hevel Havalim in the book of Ecclesiastes, vanity of vanities.
Mhm.
And he shows how that's connected as well. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it justice, but that's very good.
Yeah, it's just so much. It's too much. It's too much.
I love it.
I love it.
Fabulous.
It's just bam,
It's
bam,
fabulous.
bam, bam.
It's very hard. I'm writing about it each week, you know. I don't know if you guys are reading it.
Yes,
I'm
I'm
this
reading
week
it. I'm reading it. It's wonderful.
to focus. Sometimes I'm reading it like 5 times to figure out, and then what it means,
Yeah.
and then to be able to explain it. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, basically, it's an infinite series of puzzle pieces that are all interconnected. We don't have the ability to see it, only pieces of that puzzle, but
I love how you describe that.
it's just amazing.
Okay,
We think things are disparate, but they're not.
everything's
No.
connected.
No, there's godliness in all.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
Shkayach Chaim, beautiful.
Go ahead.
okay, boys.
Right.
All right. So again, tomorrow night, 8:45, right?
Yes, 8:45 tomorrow night.
All right. So Lerman, I'll pick you up at around 8:35. Make sure you have the schnitzel in hand.
All I,
If Mashiach doesn't come.
all I need then is my dinner and Echav, right?
Well, all you need is
Dinner tomorrow, Echav.
Eicha. Yeah, we have Eichas here. You can take it from here. I won't tell anyone.
Well, I can.
By the way, that image that I use for a backdrop now, that's the dawning of a new day from the ISS.
Ah,
The ISS.
What's ISS?
International Space Station.
Oh,
It was visible last night at 10:59 for a minute. I forgot to go watch. I get a text now, a text message
Wow.
whenever it's visible.
I thought it was from Hal.
What?
No, that's the dawning of a new day from the ISS.
I thought a dawning of a new day for the United States of Socialist America. United Socialist America. Dawning of a new day.
God forbid.
All will be good. All will be good.
What do we do?
All right.
What books do we use Thursday morning?
Just Akinos. We have those.
Okay, so I shouldn't
But we
bother.
don't. We have some in English. We have a few in English.
Kinos.
I think so. Okay.
All right, Zygazun. Take
Okay,
care.
everybody.
Be well,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Good night.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye.
Good seeing all of you.
Very nice.
Seeing you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Chaim.
Thank you. Thank you, Chaim.
Bye.
Thank you
Take
all.
care. Take care, guys. Bye, Jim.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.